Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of Geriatric Clinic and Services, National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, I welcome you one and all for this first in the webinar series, program of our webinar series named Vayomanasa Sanjeevani. So today we are having Professor C.R. Chandrashekar, our former teacher and one of the very well-known faces across Karnataka and across India. I take this opportunity to welcome sir, and sir has been always our guiding force in many of the public outreach initiatives, and it is very apt that he begins this first session today. And we also have Mr. Ramachandran, who is also one of the senior counselor from the Samadhana Center, and many of our team members from the Geriatric Clinic Services of NIMHans, as well as other experts are there from multiple departments. Our team who is coordinating this Vayomanasa Sanjeevani, including Dr. Tirumurthy, who is a professor in psychiatric social work, Dr. Sojan, Dr. Meena from health education, and Dr. Senthil Reddy, who is an expert in suicide prevention in NIMHans, and Dr. Sivakumar and some more of my colleagues who would join. Many of the colleagues are there today. And I welcome all the participants, including many lay counselors, volunteers, senior citizens who have taken time off and then joined this program. A brief word about Vayomanasa Sanjeevani. So we in NIMHans, the Geriatric Clinic Services, we provide a lot of hospital-based care. We have been doing some public outreach initiatives sporadically, say in terms of awareness programs or say some camps and reach out some services in the senior citizens in the old age homes. But we have thought it is very important for us to do a systematic initiative which will be a consistent and sustained kind of initiative. So we have this initiative is aimed at promoting the mental health and well-being of older adults. So we have named this as a Vayomanasa Sanjeevani, which actually promotes which symbolizes immortality and reaching out to people elderly to promote mental health and well-being. Now, Professor C.R. Chandrashekar doesn't need an introduction, but if you ask anybody who is familiar in the mental health field, or even for the general public, he's known as a people's psychiatrist. I think he is an example for anybody who we have to kind of follow in terms of public service. During his tenure as professor in as a faculty in NIMHans, as well as after quitting, he is continuing to be remaining active and has founded a Samadhana Counselling Center and providing continued service despite the COVID pandemic. People are seeking help from him, providing free service, and he's also training a large number of lay counselors. Many of his students and people who have been continuing lay counseling service have also joined today. And in today's theme, we are talking about suicide prevention in older adults. It is also in connection with the tomorrow's event, which is recognized as a World Suicide Prevention Day. Every year, September 10th is considered as a World Suicide Prevention Day. And this is a team. The team is working together to prevent suicide. So I think we are basically doing that to bring together senior citizens, lay counselors, professionals, and trying to see as to how we can work together to prevent suicide. I take this opportunity to thank one and all. And so we will, the kind of program what we have designed is more of interactive session rather than a didactic presentation. So many of you have shared a lot of questions. We would be taking few questions which are pertinent to today's topic. There is going to be a series of webinars focusing on various topics related to aging and mental health. So some of these questions which are not covered under today's topic will be covered in future sessions. So you be able to use the chat window for asking questions or comments, and even though the time may not allow us to cover all the questions, we would be actually responding to these questions. We are also in the process of bringing a web portal which will actually uh, help us answering many of these queries, and people can come back and then get information from that. It will be an information portal which we are hoping to launch on 1st October. So with this, sir, I welcome you, sir. Sir, I would like to request you to say a few opening remarks in terms of how this topic is important and what are your thoughts to share to the current people who are attending this program.
I think all of us know that suicide is increasing year by year. Very unfortunate. So last year, the NCRB report says 1,39,000 people committed suicide in India. 1,39,000. Before that year, it was 1,34,000. So it's an increase. Almost every year, the suicide rates are increasing. And of course, more suicides are occurring between 20 and 30 and 35. Young people. Whereas if you come to elderly people, it's 9%. 9% of completed suicides are done by people who are 60 and above. Anyway, Dr. Senthil will give some more details about the statistics and other contributing factors. So, in old age, one thing is diseases bother us. Once you cross the age of 60, many of us may develop diabetes, hypertension, arthritis, and various cancer and various. So diseases disable the individual, number one. Then number two, the social support system, the family support system for elderly is dwindling. So earlier joint families were giving a lot of respect, status to the elderly people. Now joint families have vanished. Almost 85% of families are nuclear families. Youngsters are busy in their occupation, earning and looking after their children, and they may neglect the elders. The family support system is dwindling, the social support system is dwindling, and then the financial crunch. Many elderly people lose the financial resources. You know, just 2 days back, how a lady gave her all her property to his sons, and sons threw her out of the house. And one of Siddharth took the initiative to get back the property given by this lady to children. He got the property back to this lady because she was care of footpath. Because children threw her out, telling that we will not take care of you. So the financial support system is also dwindling. And now the COVID time, again, another threat to the elderly people, because COVID deaths are more in elderly people who are having associated diabetes, BP, and other ailments. So, rightly, we have to think in terms of prevention, because if one suicide death occurs, about 10 times that number attempts occur, and they survive. And after survival, the stigma and various other problems on the survivor. So in this way, today's our discussion, we are all like-minded people, and we belong to the same profession where we have to help people. So elderly people need a lot of attention, and now we have to educate the family, educate the society, and educate the individuals. Because in India, once you get into old age, you lose your confidence, you become very philosophical, and many times you think that better to die and not to continue to live with all the problems which are associated with old age. So let us start discussing, and we can find answers from the concerned people. And also you can ask questions from your own experience. What type of problems you see in the elderly people? And
preventing suicide of older adults.
thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for giving a kind of brief overview about the importance of this topic. So can we start discussing about what are the common mental health problems that happens in elderly? and which may actually contribute to risk of suicide.
So, of course, depression. So almost half of elderly people, 50% of people, once you reach the age of 60, you will go into depression. Depression can be reactive depression, or depression can be endogenous type. The dopamine level goes down in the brain, serotonin level goes down in the brain, and the various stress factors which are associated with the old age. So depression, either reactive depression or what you call neurotic depression or even endogenous depression. So depression contributes a lot for the mental problems of elderly. And second one is the anxiety, fear. Because again, old age brings the fear of death and dying. Because in adulthood, we think that we are Chiranjeevis and we live for 100 years and more. But once you cross the age of 60, suddenly you realize that you may die anytime. The death is very nearby, and various diseases like diabetes or hypertension or cancer, which bring death earlier. So anxiety and of course security. So a lot of elderly people, physically they're insecure, psychologically they're insecure, socially they're insecure, financially they're insecure. So insecurity feelings bring the anxiety disorder. Generalized anxiety or specific anxieties also bother the individuals. And nowadays we are, in our center we are seeing a lot of late onset psychosis. Late onset psychosis. Once you pass the age of 70, 75, many family members ring me up or come to us. Sir, my mother is talking unnecessarily. She's very irritable or he is very restless. Then stay at home. Doesn't listen to us. Doesn't take tablets regularly. Doesn't sleep properly. And then hallucinatory experiences. So depression, anxiety disorder, and non-specific acute psychosis. Of course, dementia comes in at 65%, at 70, about 10%, then when you are crossing 80, 30%. So dementia and associated forms. So these are the four important issues: depression, anxiety, then acute psychosis, then dementia.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, one of the important issues in elderly is about health issues, not only mental health issues. Many of them are vulnerable for many chronic physical illnesses or some serious physical illnesses like cancer or heart conditions. So some of them may have disability because of stroke. And how are these physical health issues and disability contribute to the risk of suicide, sir?
So one is, as you mentioned, disability itself and the cost of medical services now. So the cost in the private sector is now unimaginable. Even as above middle class family, you will not be able to get the medical services from private sector. It will runs in thousands and lakhs or even more. So the financial crunch and then the family members, they get drained out. The primary caregivers, son and daughter-in-law, usually in India, elderly people live with the son. They don't want to live with the daughter. That's the tradition. Because it's a shame to go to daughter and son-in-law for help or for shelter. So they stay with son and daughter-in-law. And then the daughter-in-law is the primary caregiver. And of course, son is there and other people. So the primary caregivers, they get burnt out. And they lose hopes. They start neglecting. Either they don't bring the medicines properly, they don't take the person for checkup regularly. And generally, a sense of emotional negligence is seen, and that adds to depression and the suffering, the physical pain and the psychological pain. And many elders in India, earlier they were spending a lot of time in spiritual and religious activities. Even those things are coming down, and the elderly people do not know how to spend their time. How to spend their time only watching TV serials or doing nothing. Because again, TV serials are stereotypic and they get bored within no time. The films and they cater to the youngsters. They don't cater to the needs of the elderly people. So many elderly people, they don't enjoy whatever programs come on the screen, either reality shows or the serials or the cinemas, they don't attract their attention. Now, initially attract, but later they lose interest. So spending time and isolation. So feeling of isolation, loneliness again contributes to depression, because one lady, sir, I'm staying in my room. I begged them to take me out because she is wheelchair bound. And somebody peeps in and give me tiffin, somebody peeps in and give me lunch, and they disappear. And within 4 walls, I have to stay. So this type of social isolation and loneliness. Okay, son is there, grandson is there, granddaughter is there, but they don't enjoy talking to me. They're busy otherwise. And then now relatives do not visit the families. Another, especially in metropolitan cities, relatives do not visit among themselves. Only extremely is a phone call. So elderly people again, they are socially cut off. Either they have to talk to people over phone or visiting the relatives' house, or relatives coming to us again becoming rare. So all these issues make the individual to get into depression, and then they will start thinking that how long I should live. And many times they will pray God, oh God, give me death as early as possible. So they may not think of suicide, but they invite death, request God that death should come to them as early as possible. And they don't want to become a burden to themselves. They don't want to become a burden to others.
So you have highlighted a lot of important issues, particularly about the theme of loneliness.
Yeah.
I think loneliness is something emerging as a major issue, and isolation is emerging as a major issue, particularly in the context of COVID-19.
Yeah.
I would like to bring in Mr. Ramachandran, who is one of the very senior lay counselor and who is also secretary of the Lay Counselors Forum, and also senior citizen himself, and how he's seeing this COVID-19 situation. And they are also actually providing services in terms of lay counseling. Sir, would you like to add in what is the context of the COVID-19, how COVID-19 has brought the issue of this suicide risk as well as the loneliness, which is the main risk factor for older adults? Can you unmute yourself, sir, and answer? Shriram, can you unmute? Mr. Yeah.
Good evening to all of you. Doctor has brought out all the major things regarding today's issue, and particularly with respect to the loneliness in the light of this COVID-19. So we ourselves... Hello?
Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
With our own cases, to Samadhana Center, we senior people above 60 have stopped going as a part of safety measure. And of course, we are doing the counseling at residence itself through video counseling. There are many queries about this subject. Sir, we have no means to talk to people. We are not able to go out. Our routine has totally disturbed. So how we have to pass the time? At one side, we have our own issues. At the other side, family members are restricting us. Almost we are like something like a house arrest we are there. The same feel I am also having. For that matter, we have been engaged ourselves in the counseling activities, visiting Samadhana Center and other things. So nowadays, it has been totally cut off. So here, as already Doctor mentioned, the loneliness. Here, we need to think about our own safety first. In that context, many people do not get themselves accustomed to these gadgets, which will give us maximum relief. Like webinar, we are following it up. In fact, I myself had my own reservations to come to this system. It is just our age factor matters. And many people who come to our center, 60 plus, 70 plus, they don't even use this smartphone. Still they are having that age-old soapbox type, small soapbox type, and they are afraid of using these things. Here an awareness is very much required to see that it is very, very easy to get into these things. Maybe the youngsters have to help in this aspect, number one. Number two, spending of the time. In fact, yesterday I was just doing counseling of one lady having the similar problem. They are living in an apartment. People have put her hold on her crossing the threshold. They are not allowing her to even go to the balcony and make one round. So she was just crying. So I told her, okay, if you are having any reservations to use any modern gadgets, at least you try to talk over phone. Why do you feel that there are no other things? By closing doors and windows, we can't complain that there is no light. We need to open something and find out. In today's modern day of living, nobody has got free time to spend like olden days, as doctor was mentioning it, that the sociability has become very less. So here, instead of cursing our own fate or whatever it is, cursing the corona or whatever it is, we need to think and find out, get in touch with the people, at least a voice, through voice, WhatsApp messages. On the other hand, many people are using this. We have one lady, 80 plus, she is very active in Facebook. So it's only our willingness and our determination to see that I have to come out of this. This is most important, sir, in my opinion.
Thank you very much, sir, for bringing in the perspective of senior citizen as well as lay counselor. Very senior. So both the perspectives you have given. I would like to invite Dr. Senthil Reddy, who is leading a lot of initiatives from NIMHANS to kind of work towards suicide prevention. He has been doing initiatives within in the NIMHANS Center for Wellbeing in terms of training gatekeepers, as well as a statewide initiative in Sikkim, where a lot of volunteers and caregivers are being trained and individuals are being trained. So a lot of research related to suicide is been leading, and also in terms of bringing out manuals for professionals and for health workers. So the community psychiatry team and Dr. Senthil has been actively involved in. Dr. Senthil, I think it would be very useful if you can highlight about what are the various activities, what you have been doing, and with respect to specifically about older adults, what are your thoughts as to how we should go about?
Sure. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, yes. Please.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Professor Sivakumar. And, I would completely, just to sort of begin with and continue the discussion that's ongoing, I'd probably start there and we'll talk, sort of try and focus on the elderly. As, has been pointed out by my esteemed, teacher and senior Professor Chandrashekar, as well as Mr. Ramachandran, the issue, that has, probably there are two aspects. One is the fact that India, with advancements in healthcare, the lifespan has progressively increased. So now the proportion of people who are elderly is gradually and steadily increasing, and is expected, based on the current, sort of estimations, to even further enlarge and become a large portion of the population. Now, one of the things is that, as has been already pointed out, a lot of the elderly, a significant proportion, already suffer from various physical health problems. And the one aspect that probably, in addition to whatever has been said, is also the fact that the treatment for a lot of these conditions also induce, actually, and are associated with, mental health issues, primarily depression. One example being post-stroke depression, some of the issues of treatment and medications used for various, chronic illnesses like hypertension, diabetes, etc. The fact that diabetes has a, bidirectional relationship with depression. All these factors also make the elderly more vulnerable to, experiencing concurrent mental, particularly depressive illnesses and anxiety symptoms or disorders. The other aspect has already been touched upon, and I think, just to again go back to what Sir had pointed out with respect to the data from the most recent, National Crime Records Bureau data on suicides. One of the most important and significant things is the fact that although a lot of coverage has taken place with respect to farmer suicides and, student suicides, the numbers being approximately 10,000, out of the total for this year. for both of these groups. Interestingly, even the elderly, the number of suicides is more than 10,000 in that range. But that's not actually, been an area of focus of coverage, and has got, has been able to be disseminated or shared with the community. The other significant, interesting finding from the Crime Records Bureau data on suicides is the fact that although the rates are the highest in the younger persons in the age group of 18 to 30 and 30 to 45, the primary cause in that was attributable to family problems in that age group. And the second most common cause was, health issues, one of them being mental illness. But in contrast to that, amongst the elderly, about 60 people, actually the first number one cause for suicides is actually physical illnesses, or not physical illnesses, but I would say illnesses. That includes even mental health issues. So out of the 10,000 suicides, approximately 4,000, approximately 4,000 odd people ended their life by suicide, the elderly, who suffered from illnesses. And out of this, almost only 1/3 had mental health related issues. The other 2/3 actually suffered from various chronic health issues. And probably around 500, less than 500 of them suffer from cancer and issues of paralysis, as has been reported in the report, the report on suicides that's been released by the government. So clearly, the issue of physical health and physical illnesses, contributes to a lot of disability, distress, that possibly increases the vulnerability from this particular viewpoint. The fact that the isolation, the fact that you're unable to, like was just pointed out, that a lot of the elderly are unable to keep up because of the issues that they already may have. They may have sensory deficits and difficulties that make it difficult for them to engage through these alternate platforms. Even in the current context of COVID, I know some members of the geriatric team, some of the DMs, residents, senior residents have actually published a very interesting article on how just the combination is very potent for the elderly and needs to be looked into. And Dr. Debanjan Banerjee, Dr. Nigita, have stated a variety of different factors that uniquely make this group of people very vulnerable. Frailty, the fact that it is, and interestingly, it is not about isolation. It is more about a sense of a lack of social integration, a lack of family integration. So even though while being part of the family or being alone was not the cause, but a sense of connectedness was what was perceived to be one of the major things that drove a lot of people to end their life or attempt to end their life in the elderly. And a lot of us have quickly transitioned into these alternate ways, working from home. So even though family may be there partly, and the elderly may be still connected with staying under the same roof, working from home, the students, the grandchildren studying from home, automatically disengages the elderly from the rest of the family that is there. So, a lot of these aspects, and in addition to, the elderly couples who are isolated by themselves, their children have moved to different parts of the country or the world, they have very limited connectivity. In the current period of the COVID, the ability to even do their routine activities like physical health, exercise has been seriously compromised. So that's affected further their ability to maintain their physical, health problems under control, which again increases the vulnerability of, of developing concurrent mental health problems. So some of these aspects are the things that, are really, really, concerning, in the short term, here and now, as well as in the long term. And that's something that, a lot of us have to start working to make plans towards how to help this particular group of people. A spouse of an elderly person who suffers from dementia may have caregiver burnout. And, they may not be support systems available to even provide respite assistance, etc. And that can itself indeed lead a person to develop depression, the caregiver to develop depression, themselves and their life because of the inability to cope with, caring for a person with a demential illness. And these are some of the issues that are quite concerning and worrisome in this age group that we need to sort of start working towards. So, in that context, a lot of work that we found that is useful is actually to empower the society. So we have been, as Professor Sivakumar had just pointed out, that we have been doing this gatekeeper training for suicide prevention from the NIMHANS Center for Wellbeing. We've been running for 6-7 years, and we've been able to train a variety of different people from various backgrounds. What we found is a very positive response. And these are lay persons in the community, people who are, teachers, students, just generally people living in society. They could be community leaders, organizations. We've trained around 5,000 odd people, and we find that, this is one of the World Health Organization's advocated strategies to address suicide across the world, is to actually equip people in the community to start identifying those who might be vulnerable. Because if you identify them in a timely manner, can you probably stop and prevent a suicide from occurring? And that in itself is the most crucial step and a very effective step to reduce suicides. So like, was pointed out, we have also rolled out a training program jointly with Sikkim, which is actually one of the states with the highest per lakh rates of suicide in the country, even for this year, and has always been one of the leading, states with respect to the suicide rates. So their suicide rate is approximately at actually 30 persons per lakh population, whereas the country's average is at 10 lakh person, 10 persons per lakh population. So clearly, they're 3 times more, at high risk. So we have been working over the last year in training, frontline health workers, frontline workers from other departments, teachers, etc. In again, timely identification of those who could be vulnerable, providing them immediate assistance, and then linking them in with the necessary services that can actually address the issues that the person is experiencing. So that has been, again, very positively received, and we have done this again. One of the advantages is that we've used technology to overcome the challenge of distance and been able to train a large number of these people online. So we've been doing that for 1 year. It's been very helpful. We've been able to cover a large proportion of their healthcare providers at the front line, the primary healthcare setting. There's a counselor in each of the PHCs, and they have all been trained. Nurses have been trained. Like I said, teachers. And from next year onwards, I think the Sikkim state intends to roll out, specific, programs for the students in their school. So similarly, we are also looking to identify, specific things, because in Sikkim, what was interesting was an illness like tuberculosis. They have high rates of issues with, substance use, particularly intravenous drug abuse. These are factors that are contributing to suicide there. So those are aspects that we're working with the TB counselors, from the TB program to train them as well. So because different regions have different, unique needs, it's important that we sort of customize some of this to different parts of our country. We identify in our country, amongst the elderly as well, which part or which states in the country are these, rates much, much higher than some other parts. And what is particularly different in that particular state with that subgroup, the elderly, that's contributing to higher than usual rates of suicide that would be expected for the nation. So that is one, effective way. So we have also worked with 4 or 5 other states as part of the district mental health training program, which is tied up with NIMHANS. So we've been involved in training and suicide prevention for those state providers as well, health providers, and a couple of, organizations, both government and private. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Senthil. Sir, I would come back to you. I think one of the mission of this Vayomanasa Sanjeevani initiative is also to bring in, many senior citizens themselves, as well as other representatives from the community as lay counselors, as volunteers. Because many of these things doesn't require a professional intervention, and professionals cannot meet the demands because the kind of the resources what we have in terms of mental health professionals, the psychiatrists, psychologists or social workers, psychiatric social workers, we are not even able to manage the load of people with diagnosed mental illnesses. And we have a large number of people with unmet needs. If we take off people who have subsyndromal mental health issues, and we have to target people who are at risk population, like elderly who are vulnerable for suicide risk, who would require some mental health intervention, it cannot be done by professionals. So many of these things can be done by lay counselors. And Professor C.R. Chandrashekar has been training lay counselors for many years. I think earlier in a different, he has been a force behind contributing to this training in many centers. After retirement or even before retirement, he started this Samadhana Counselling Center, and he has actually trained many people. Many batches of people come and get trained, and some of them take up as role as volunteers. Many of them are available today. I think I can see many faces who have joined today, and I take this opportunity to ask, sir, so what do you see as the role of lay counseling, and how do we motivate people to take up this, and particularly senior citizens themselves? Many of them may think whether I will be able to do this job. So what kind of skills you require, what kind of trainings you require, and what would be your message to them?
So coming to senior citizens, almost in Bangalore or in any big towns, there are senior citizens forums are there, associations are there. Actually, in Bangalore, almost every locality, whether Malleshwaram, Rajajinagar or Jayanagar, and various places, there are senior citizens associations. I think we should encourage in every village, in every small town, in every place, for senior citizens to come together. Because again we are talking about how to build up the social support system. Because youngsters are busy, children are they don't move with the elders. Then so to avoid loneliness, to avoid being totally helpless. So one is we have to contact, establish senior citizen forums in as many places as possible, and then give them the inputs. Give them the inputs in 6 sessions or in 10 sessions. Actually, in Samadhana, we are doing it in 12 sessions, 12 Sundays, 3 hours, 3.5 hours inputs, and we teach them how mind works and how different age groups suffer, especially elderly people, common problems like depression, anxieties, and then dementias, those things. And then now to little bit, but bring in as Senthil put connectivity, the social connectivity, we have to bring in and induce hopes in the minds of elderly people. And elderly people they are usually good listeners. They listen to others. Whereas youngsters, they try to enjoy talking to others. So, lay counseling program. So we invite people, and now by online ads as well as information. So we are inviting, actually in Samadhana, we have trained 36 batches. In Prasanna Center, we have trained 47 batches. Almost more than 10,000 people in Bangalore and nearby places we have trained. And these people, they are volunteers. They enjoy doing counseling and as a part of service. No monetary benefit. Even we tell them, don't expect thanks from people whom you support and help. So they are very, very good people, and then having efficiency to talk to people, listen to them. Because in counseling, all of us know that active listening is the most important component of counseling. And then give the emotional support the person needs. Whether the elderly person or the middle-aged person or any person, women especially, they want emotional support which they don't get from their families, which they don't get from their friends, which they don't get from known people. Counselors, we can, Department of Geriatrics can take it up, or other people who are listening to us today. You can pass on this message to people in and around, and there are agencies who can do this. training program like Samadhana Center, Prasanna Center, and of course Department of Psychiatry can take it up in a big way, both online training as well as direct training. And then invite people of different age groups. So there are people who are willing to spend 3 to 4 hours a week or even 8 to 10 hours a week, and then carry on this very simple task of talking to people, giving the emotional support they need, and also minimizing the helplessness, minimizing the disability part, psychological disability. Many elders, they develop on their own. Oh, I'm old, I can't do anything. Yeah, no, I'm come to the fag end of my life, and I should count days to die. So this type of total helplessness, and then lack of self-confidence and the zeal to live, because we have to induce the love for life. Many elderly people, when they develop various ailments, they lose love for life. They start developing love for dying as early as possible. I think we should change this from love of dying, love for death. We should convert love for living, because none of us know our lifespan. Now India's lifespan is 74 years now, 74 years. It's increasing year by year. So 10% of population are elderly people now in India, and in another 15 years we expect to go up to 25%. 25% of Indians will belong to 60 plus. That's graying of India. So we have to, from today onwards, we have to prepare these people. The preparation should start from the adulthood, because I am in 30s, next 30 years, I'm going to reach 60, and how should I plan my life? How I should be independent financially, how I should plan my leisure time activities, how I should be productive even at the age of 60, 70. I've seen many people, even after 60, 65, they start learning music, they start learning various arts and crafts, and then they enjoy life. Teaching these skills. Even 2 days back, an elderly lady in Chikmagalur, using this obbale, the dry leaf of arecanut trees. She has prepared so many household materials, lamps, then flower vases, and she was saying, I developed on my own and I did it, and now I am proud of myself, and I'm teaching youngsters to learn this skill, art. So in this way, many people have these artistic skills, and they do it, learn on their own. This lady learned it on her own. There was nobody to teach her. But she exhibited all the items she has prepared from dry leaf areca trees, and she was a source of inspiration for others to use these skills and make artistic materials. So in this way, counseling, I think we should take it as a movement. We should take it as a movement, because another 100 years we will not produce enough professionals in our country. Professional psychiatrists, professional clinical psychologists, professional counselors to meet the demands of the society, starting from children to elderly people. I think the answer is with the society. We should tell people that what they can do, what is the inner strength of themselves, irrespective of the age. They should become counselors, and then work towards improving the physical health of people as well as mental health of people. Again, WHO clearly says 80% of ailments are preventable. 80% of diseases, or stress-induced diseases, starting from diabetes up to cancer, they're all preventable. But prevention measures should start in 20s and 30s. Because if you lead a life, very stressful life in 20s and 30s, then you become an elderly person. Psychologically, you become old very early than your physical age. So many people now we see at the age of 40, they have lost the zeal to live, zeal to be productive. So the counselors can do this job. They need very short-term training program by the professionals, and then they can help themselves and form groups in the locality so that the health of the society, starting from children to elderly people, can improve. The physical health improves, like good food, timely food, and then nutritious food, exercise, various activities, both physical activities as well as psychological activities, and then our own Indian spirituality, because in our elders have given us a treasure of spiritual activities, which keeps you alive even at the time of dying, believing in various either supernatural forces or God and various forms, and how you can be productive and helpful to the society, like a Samaji Karuna. You have to give back the debt to the society. So this concept, the Indian concept of Indian philosophy, then Indian cultural belief system where Atma is there, Atma is Avinashi, and then it continues to be there all the time with us, takes nearer to a God. So all these concepts have to be built in. And people can use these concepts, especially how to face death, how to face old age, how to face disabilities. So there are various explanations. You should not become totally helpless if you're having a disability, because there are ways to console yourself. Yes, I am disabled, but look at my assets, what I can do. Let me not look at the lacunae. Let us not look at the weaknesses I have, but look at the positive aspects of life. So in this way, I request Dr. Sivakumar to take up this issue, circulate this information to all levels of society, that anybody can volunteer to become a counselor, and he or she can help people, even 5 people, 10 people. And if you are more resourceful, hundreds of people you can help, like in one light lamping hundreds of lamps or thousands of lamps. You need one lamp, that's all. So that job can be done by any person. And even I have seen people who are just 6 years of schooling, 8 years of schooling, they are doing wonderful job compared to people with PhDs or with higher degrees. So education is not that important, but the willingness to help others, like, Janata Seve, Janardana Seve, that's the proud we have. If you help people, it is equal to helping or worshipping the God. So such concept have to be taken out from our cultural heritage, and then counselors can play an important role in prevention of disability among elders, prevention of depression among elders, anxiety among elders. Like, like Shiva Sharana say, Mananave Mahanomi. So they said that you enjoy death. Don't be afraid of death. But in Nijavara Sharana, Marana or death is a day to celebrate. Otherwise, many of us are afraid of dying, afraid of death. So such beautiful concepts are there, how you can receive death, which is inevitable, with a smile, not with fear or anxiety, or illnesses, which are there. Okay, let it be there, but I will pull on. I will control these illnesses. That type of psychological strength the elders should develop. And so the counseling part will help these people, especially all these senior citizens who don't have any other productive activity, but they can learn these skills from professionals and then continue to do it on their own. Again, in our Samadhana Center, 50% of volunteers are elderly people. 50% of volunteers are elderly people. Other 50% are below the age of 55, 60. So many times I see the enthusiasm of elderly people who come, enjoy sitting with clients, talking to them, and then giving suggestions, because again in India, the age and experience carry a lot of respect. A young person who is brilliant is not acceptable as a counselor, but an elderly person, because of his age and experience, he is accepted as a counselor by the clients, and they can deliver the goods very, very well.
Sir, actually, NIMHANS, our team of psychiatry department faculty, we have actually followed your footsteps. The community psychiatry team led by Dr. Naveen Kumar and Dr. Suresh, they have already started an online certificate course for lay counseling, and more than 150 people have been trained in that. And this initiative of Vayomanasa Sanjeevani, one of the main objective is about to promote lay counseling by the senior citizens as well as other people who can help senior citizens. So here we are also trying to bring in the role of technology, where people can sit in their home and use telecounseling through a network or through a portal wherein their personal numbers will not be known to the users. So we are going to route it through our NIMHANS helpline, so that people may not be apprehensive as to during the COVID time how I will face, because I am restricted to my home, how can I go and do service. So the idea what we have brought about is they can use their phones, and then they can do a telecounseling, or they can use a video conference if they have access to it, and then use telecounseling, do video counseling through video conference. But these are things, because for the next 1 year, we may have some restrictions in the movement for senior citizens. So we have brought in, we are trying to bring in a portal which will link the users, the senior citizens. Primarily, we are trying to reach out to people who are living alone, people who are economically vulnerable, and we are collaborating with various government and non-governmental organizations to identify these people. And probably in a month's time, we'll be able to put in a mechanism by which already trained lay counselors can be linked to the senior citizens. And we will, as Sir told, we will take it as a mission. The Vayomanasa Sanjeevani's mission is about to reach out to large number of people and then train them as lay counselors. And we will adapt the training content, what Sir has told about different sessions over 3 months, into an online kind of training method as of now. And we intend to reach out to people across the country in different languages. So I think it should be a large capacity building initiative. So that is what I think the series of webinars, what we are starting today, is intended towards achieving that objective, wherein we will sensitize on various mental health issues. People who are volunteering for lay counseling will be having other interactions or other trainings to have some kind of mentoring by professionals, and also to give them the confidence as to how they can respond. So we will take this mission, sir. We assure you, I think you have been the role model for us, and we definitely would follow your footsteps and make a significant contribution to the society in that connection. So I would like to share a few things, sir, in terms of the resources, what people can seek help when somebody is in distress. When you see somebody in distress, I think this is something very important for us to share to people, because everything may not be handled by an individual. There are a lot of other mechanisms which are available now. Our team has actually made some helpline numbers also. They will be projecting it, or they'll be sharing it to the participants. So one of the helpline NIMHANS had started is about NIMHANS Psychosocial Helpline, which is a 24/7 helpline, tele helpline, which primarily deals with mental health problems in any individual. And we have a separate kind of IVR system which leads elderly people and their needs are addressed. The moment somebody requires professional help, they are kind of referred to the professional team, but the counselors are able to actually handle many of the guidance they can give. Apart from that, there are other helplines which are available in every district. Most of the districts, there is an elders helpline. So you might have to find out the particular number. In Bangalore, it is 1090. In most of the places in the district police office, there's a superintendent of police or the commissioner office, there is a helpline where it is a involvement of the NGO. It's a government supported program, and the police commissioner or the police headquarters. So there, the police also helps into reaching out to people who are in distress. And if there is an abuse or if there is some challenge what the senior citizen is facing, they are actually trying to help them out. And apart from that, there are recently another helpline by the Social Justice and Empowerment Ministry. They have started again for mental health counseling. So there are several other helplines by organizations which are specifically working for suicide or for old age issues. They are also running helplines. Many of the psychiatrist forums, they are running helplines. So these are some things. In our portal, we'll be sharing some of these numbers. So we are kind of interacted and discussed about several issues. I would like to invite some of my team members if they have any brief comments to make, because this is the first program. So we are almost coming to the end of this session. So these information, what we have discussed today, will also be available in YouTube, and we also will be uploaded in our portal when it is getting ready. And before concluding,
one more thing I would like to add on. Whether it's COVID time or non-COVID time, for elderly people, how they can spend their time. So we have to revive a lot of traditional household games, which many youngsters have forgotten. The grandchildren and the sons and daughters, the household games, whether Pagadayata or Alugudi Mane or various household games, which elders used to enjoy, play with the grandchildren, and the bonding between the grandparents and the grandchildren. So we have to revive. We have to revive these traditional household games. You not go out within the house, within the room, with very cheap materials or no cost material. You can play these games. We have to revive this and give this material to elderly people to use it. And also income generation activities for elderly people, whether pickle making or papad making or various artistic materials. Many elderly people can do it sitting at home, and then they can generate income for themselves or get usefully occupied instead of just watching a meaningless serial or a meaningless cinema, or getting bored seeing the same cinema, same programs. They can start such activities. Again, we can encourage all the senior citizen associations to bring back the income generation activities as well as time pass activities, creative activities for elderly people, and also elderly people can involve the youngsters. So again, what the bondage has been lost, the bondage between the middle age, the young age, and the old age people. All these activities will bring people back to that they can work together, they can play together, enjoy together, and defeat depression, then minimize anxiety, and it can be income generating activity. And even if you earn 50 rupees a day, it's a big boost for your self-image that I am at 70, I can do this. Because one of our retired director of health services, he learned 4 languages after retirement: Urdu, German, Japan. And the grandchildren were making fun. Why you are learning all these languages? He was telling me, I got 35 marks in Urdu, and I was so happy. He got gold medal in MBBS. So I was more happy than when I got a gold medal in MBBS by getting 35 marks and learned Urdu to read and write. And then my grandchildren came and congratulated me for passing the examination. And he was 70 at that time. So such activities have to be encouraged. And when we talk about prevention of either physical ailments or mental ailments, depression, suicide, these such activities will help a lot. And there's a treasure of such activities in our society, in our culture, we have to revive.
Thank you very much, sir. I think you have suggested a lot of activities which people can do it from home, as well as income generating activity. It's more of as a symbolic thing and as a moral boosting kind of activity. And I think your life is again a role model for people to follow as to how hard you are working, and even after retirement, and you have not taken a rest, and you have been contributing to the society in terms of training people and also providing free service for people who are in need of mental health care. So before concluding, I would just like to invite some of my colleagues. Dr. Tirumurthy, Professor of Psychiatric Social Work. He is one of the active members of our team, and I think the social work team has been the strength for us. A brief comment, Dr. Tirumurthy, is more of a concluding remarks. We are, I'm inviting all our team members to say just a few words, or just to kind of wish as to how, what you would like to kind of add in terms of this initiative. Anything which I have left out, Dr. Tirumurthy.
Very good afternoon to all of you. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, yes.
It's a great pleasure seeing Professor P.R. Chandrashekar and the effectively organizing this program on suicide prevention among elderly. Sir, we have been doing lots of work related to elderly.
Remove the mask because we are
under the leadership of Dr. P.T. Sivakumar, and we are seeing it. Your wisdom and knowledge definitely encourage us to take further step into provide services where it is unreached. We are sure that elderly populations are vulnerable populations. However, as the technology is such that we are trying to reach out through teleservices, and our team is ready to reach out to any crisis situation where it is warranted professional help, and we are able to do it. Sir. My sincere thanks for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. It's definitely it's a take-home message how you are very simply becoming a role model to everyone. Thank you, Dr. P.
Thanks, Dr. I would like to invite Dr. Sai Lakshmi, who is the head of the Department of Nursing, and she has been our active member of our geriatric clinic team, and she has been playing a lot of role in training caregivers. We have been we are also trying to reach out to a lot of caregivers who provide 24/7 care for elderly people, and training health workers and various aspects. Dr. Sai Lakshmi plays a crucial role, and nursing intervention is something very, very important aspect in terms of elderly. So, Dr. Sai Lakshmi, just a brief comment on about your thoughts of today's program and this initiative of Vayomanasa Sanjeevani.
Thank you, Dr. Sivakumar. And it was a real privilege listening to Dr. Chandrashekhar's talk, Mr. Ramachandran and Dr. Senthil's talk also. I think they are very, very significant content. And I just wish to, I mean, this point might have been covered because of internet issues I might not have heard. I also felt that pets also form a very important point of reducing loneliness for people who are older. They have that impact of pulling a person back from the past, stopping you ruminating about the future and bringing you to the present. So I think especially dogs, Labradors and all, they're very loving. So they don't expect anything in return. So pet therapy would be another added point. And I feel that this pandemic has a lot of impact on older persons, especially because people now are forced to work from home, and children also don't have school or college. So the older person at home is left with that extra work of taking care of children and taking care of the household activities. So the burden is more on the older person. So I think it's very significant that we have started all these series of webinars, and I must thank Dr. Sivakumar for excellent organization. And I think, sir also might have told that in collaboration, Geriatric Services with the Department of Nursing is starting a Geriatric Nursing Fellowship course next year. So we look forward to a lot of collaboration, and definitely we extend all our support from the Department of Nursing. Thank you, Dr. Chandrashekar. It was very nice to hear you talk. Thank you, sir. Privilege.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Sai Lakshmi. We have one of our colleague of Geriatric Clinic. He was with us for some time, and now he is active in terms of providing a lot of community kind of awareness programs and with the psychiatrist forums. He is also very active writer in Kannada as well as Indian English press. So he writes a lot of public awareness articles. Dr. Vijayakumar Herbishetter, who is one of this kind of a person who is very energetic and who always supports our public outreach initiatives. He has also been instrumental in writing a lot of public awareness materials for elderly, which is available in our age-friendly Karnataka website, and which will also come in our portal for Vayomanasa Sanjeevani. Dr. Vijay?
Thanks, Dr. Sivakumar. Thanks. This is a very good initiative. I think you're in the right track, following footsteps of Dr. CRC. Mainly, it's all about counseling, blended with technology. So if you add his experience, his plans, whatever he had, in addition, you add technology to this, and you just got the right, the combination to reach, a majority of the public. One thing I just want to add is old age is a time to actually celebrate, because you've done so well, that you lived so long, facing all the turmoils of life. It's just, every day you have to celebrate, because you've done really well. And another few issues like we need to understand is the bereavement. Contemporaries dying in front of you, relatives dying in front of you. So these also can also affect. In addition to that, the hobby, like already Dr. CRC mentioned, again, spirituality is another thing. Another thing is, work. Some people want to work, like Dr. CRC himself is working. So why not? If you're enjoying your hobbies work, then you work. So that is another thing I want to mention. There's one more type of what you might consider as so-called suicide in elderly is that there are chances that many people may have a fight with somebody and then discontinue their medications, discontinue their follow-ups, and they may actually succumb to death, because death is not so easy, because the healthcare is so good that even if you want, death is not so easy to get. This is what I've heard in one of the palliative conferences. So, one has to understand, don't wait for that, just follow work, mindfulness on the day, that present moment, enjoy life. Rest, I think you're doing good job. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for giving me opportunity.
Thanks, Dr. Vijay. I think when it comes to any mental health awareness, mental health education is a very important component. And education doesn't happen only by one medium. It is about bringing out awareness materials in terms of written texts or videos, and conducting a lot of public awareness programs. Our mental health education department is a very leading department in promoting this aspect at a national level. Dr. Meena is an integral part of our team, and she is the head of the Department of Mental Health Education and additional professor in Mental Health Education. Dr. Meena, I welcome you to share your thoughts on this initiative.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think it was a very enriching session. I know, sir, Dr. C.R. Chandrashekar, sir, I was his student in 2002, and I've seen that he has not lost his zeal and enthusiasm, and it is very infectious, I think, seeing sir, and I think we'll be able to catch this good infection rather than the bad virus that is floating around. And I think WHO recently, I think yesterday we saw the WHO chief was telling that world needs to be prepared for more pandemics. So that was the big warning that he gave us. And with it, I think we'll see a huge rise in psychosocial issues and mental health crisis that's going to come, and it has made us so much vulnerable. And when we see it is more with the elderly. And I think this program has come at a very apt time, and especially targeting a very sensitive subject like suicide. And like Dr. Sivakumar, sir, very aptly told that training and education, I think it plays a very crucial role. That is how empowered we are with our education is very important. And we at the Department of Mental Health Education have been trying to, I think in collaboration with the Geriatric Psychiatric Services, have been developing a lot of content, I think, and all this content should be available shortly in the website, which this plans to develop. And I think we'll be working on more. And I think as anybody, I think many of you have actually participated today. And I think at the end of the day, we all need to see that we need to be some kind of a spokesperson, I think, to make ourselves vocal at any given opportunity. So it could be even when you're talking to some 10 people in a group, or it could be, local newspapers, or, it could be local TV channels, or, in your Facebook or anywhere in your social media pages. I think being vocal at a given opportunity is very important to actually impart and, to have the ripple effect of education that we are going to target here. And I wish the team all the best, and I think we'll be looking forward for more fruitful collaborations.
Thanks, Dr. Meena. I invite Dr. Sojan, who's again another active member of our team, and he has been instrumental in training a lot of people in old age home staff in Kerala, and doing a lot of awareness programs in Kerala, as well as our initiatives here in Bangalore, interacting with many NGOs, our age-friendly Karnataka movement. He has been one of the active members. Dr. Sojan?
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah, thank you, sir, for the opportunity. Thank you for all the distinguished speakers. It was very useful. I am very sure that this public-private people's participation in this regard is going to create social safety net for our elderly. And as the word indicates, it is going to be a Sanjeevani. The Sanjeevani, the word meaning is, it helps people to live long. So our Vayomanasa Sanjeevani, in collaboration with multiple stakeholders, we are going to establish for helping elderly to have a quality of life in their this glorious part of life. Thank you, sir.
So thank you very much. I think we have a lot of people. We have a lot of counselors who have joined us from in this meeting, and also many participants, senior citizens are there. Mr. Ramachandran,
Yes,
any final comments? Any closing
Yes, sir.
remarks?
Yes, sir. Is it audible?
Yes.
Sir, as counseling the senior people, we have one bigger disadvantage that everybody should aware. Because of their experience and their exposure to the life, most of the people feel that they have come to a saturation and no more input is required. So with that mindset, it will be very difficult for them to convince anything. First of all, I know everything, this mentality will be there. Sorry if any elders are mistaking it. It is a general thing that with that mindset they come, what this man or woman is going to tell me anything because I know everything. So here, the patience level of the counselor has to be highest. Even though we say empathy, whatever the circus we do, it is very difficult. That has been the practical experience of us. Okay, you are telling something, my son has brought. Okay, tell, let me listen. This will be the mentality with most of the people. So we need to have that highest patience and start with appreciating their past life experiences. I mean, past life in sense, their service experiences, their way of looking the life and all, so that we can come closer to them. So this relationship building is a specific thing for counselors, and particularly for senior citizens. This is at most important. We need to practice praising the people in front of us so that they will come to our frequency first. Then we should try to appreciate them so that they will be at least try to listen to us. This is the second thing we have to practice. And as already explained by many of our respected group people, the expectation of the senior people will be very high always. The feel of negligence is there. So we need to recognize them to the maximum extent first. And if at all we want to give them any tips, it is better, as our doctor has already, CRC has already told, philosophical approach is very much helpful, and we have found the fruit of it also. So with our straight modern day language and all, it will be very difficult for them to convince whatever may be their education level. So philosophical approach more towards our Indian way of thinking. These things will definitely reduce the gap between the counselor and the counselee. So this is one thing we need to important, and give them the hope of good days to come. This is most important because they must have already reached their saturation level, and many people start with the usual sentence that, sir, everything is over. What is next? I am just counting the days, waiting for the days. So this will be the usual talk when we start counseling. So here, to the extent possible, we need to give them hope. we need to give them a confidence that we are here. Many people come to us, they have the habit of coming to us for at least once in a month just to have a chit chat. They say, after talking to you, we got charged, so we will come next month. So this jovially, though jovially they say, it means something to them. So we should try to see that the relationship is maintained, and they keep continuously coming to us till they feel a comfort level. So this is what I just want to share as a counselor.
So I think I think the topic is such that, and the kind of expertise of panels and the experiences of all the learned members, we can go on talking, but I think it is better that we give a break. And then this is an initiative which we expect it to happen very regularly. This is the first of the series, what we are first session of the series what we are starting. We are also planning to have a lot of training workshops for people who are interested in lay counseling. So we will be kind of doing this kind of outreach initiatives on a regular basis under this Vayomanasa Sanjeevani initiative. And one of the things is about the webinar series on various themes related to aging and mental health. So this will happen fairly regularly. We have planned series of talks on Alzheimer's dementia, World Mental Health Day that is coming up. So some of the themes related to that we will have, and it'll be a continuous kind of activity. Please, we invite you to participate in many of these programs and engage in this conversation, engage in this mission to promote mental health and well-being of older adults. I take this opportunity to thank the technical support and the logistic support given by ICON Pharmaceuticals, Mr. Sriram as a representative who has been behind in terms of helping us in a lot of logistic help, and my team led by Cecil, and as well as a lot of volunteers from our social work team as well as our psychiatry team. So many people have contributed to kind of coordinate this meeting. I thank one of my colleague, Dr. Preeti Sinha, was supposed to be here today. Unfortunately, she had some health issues, so she had to. She couldn't participate in today's program, but she will be coming up and participating in other programs. So, and our mentors, Professor Matthew Verghese, who is who has started the Geriatric Clinic Services at NIMHANS, and our former teacher, Dr. Shikla Bharat, they all have led and conducted a lot of public outreach initiatives. We are following their footsteps. And I thank you one and all for joining for today's program. Have a good evening, and have a please stay safe from the COVID, despite a lot of things being relaxed and lockdown being done. Still, senior citizens, many of the senior citizens need to be more careful. So, but at the same time, we have to start functioning. We have to start getting back to our activities. Also, we should not be bogged down by simply by COVID. So, as Professor CRC highlighted, we can do a lot of things in a meaningful manner, and this is one such initiative where you can participate and then contribute to the society also. Thank you one and all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We conclude the session.
Thank you.